We think of the sun as a constant. It's the ultimate life giver. It rises every morning, sets every evening, and provides the stable, gentle energy that has allowed life to flourish for billions of years. It feels eternal, permanent. But this is a comforting illusion. The sun is not a magical campfire in the sky. It is a star, and like all stars, it is a violent, churning nuclear reactor bound by the unfeeling laws of physics. It is not permanent. It is middle-aged, and it will die. This isn't just a revelation. It is the single most definitive event in our future. But its death won't be a gentle fading out. It will be a slow, multi-stage, and extraordinarily violent execution of our entire solar system. We have been living on borrowed time, next to a time bomb. To understand how our world ends, you have to understand the physics of our star's life. For the last 4.5 billion years, the sun has been in its main sequence. This is its stable adulthood. In its core, it is performing a constant, powerful act, nuclear fusion. It is taking trillions of tons of hydrogen and, under unimaginable pressure and heat, slamming those atoms together to create helium. This process releases a titanic amount of energy. That energy, in the form of light and heat, pushes outward. This outward pressure is in a perfect, delicate dance with the sun's own immense gravity, which is trying to crush the star inward. This balance, gravity pulling in, fusion pushing out, is called hydrostatic equilibrium. It is the only reason we are alive. The sun's death begins the second this balance breaks. In about 5 billion years, the sun's core will have finally run out of its primary fuel. It will have fused all the hydrogen in its core into a big, dead ball of helium ash. With the fusion engine off, the outward push stops. Gravity, which never, ever rests, wins. The core, no longer able to support itself, will begin to collapse. As this million-mile-wide ball of helium falls in on itself, the pressure becomes obscene. The core will heat up to temperatures we can't even imagine, hundreds of millions of degrees. And here is the terrible, shocking twist. This new, dead core is now so hot that it ignites the unburned shell of hydrogen around it. This is hydrogen shell burning, and it is the trigger for our annihilation. The sun will now have a new, even more furious engine. This new engine, burning in a shell outside the core, is no longer balanced. It is raging, and it overpowers gravity. The sun's outer layers, our surface, will begin to expand, and expand, and expand. The main sequence star dies, the red giant is born. This transformation will systematically destroy Earth in 5 distinct, horrifying stages. This is the timeline of our planet's end. The first stage is the most shocking because it doesn't happen in 5 billion years. It happens in 1 billion. And it's not the red giant that kills us. It's the sun right now in its adulthood. Because as the sun ages, even on the main sequence, it is getting brighter. Very slowly but very surely it is getting hotter, about 10% hotter every billion years. In about 1 billion years, that 10% increase will be enough to trigger the first mass extinction. This new heat will start a terrible feedback loop. The oceans will begin to evaporate at a much higher rate. This fills the atmosphere with water vapor. And here's the part we forget. Water vapor is the most potent greenhouse gas in existence. More heat, more evaporation, more water vapor, even more heat. This is the moist greenhouse effect. The atmosphere will become a thick, soupy, global steam bath. The average temperatures will climb past the boiling point of water. Life on Earth, which is built for our delicate, mild climate, will be boiled alive. This is the true climate change apocalypse. We don't even make it to the sun's death. We are a victim of its middle age. 4 billion years pass. The sun's expansion as a red giant is now in full swing. its new raging shell fusion engine is out of control. The sun's surface swells, growing 100, then 200 times its original size, becoming a bloated crimson-red monstrosity. Its surface is cooler, hence red, but it is so enormous that its total energy output, its luminosity, is 2,000 times greater. The heat hitting Earth is no longer warming. It is an inferno. The steam-filled atmosphere we left behind is stripped away, blasted into space by a new ferocious solar wind. The oceans, which had become steam, are now boiled off the planet. The H2O molecules are torn apart by the intense radiation, and the hydrogen bleeds into space. The planet's water is permanently erased. The surface itself, now naked to this blast furnace, begins to melt. The continents, the mountains, the sea floor, the entire crust of the Earth gives way. It becomes a single global bubbling ocean of magma. Our blue-green world is now a scorched, black, lifeless ball of molten rock, glowing a dull red in the face of its new, monstrous parent. But the sun's attack is not finished. This brings us to the ultimate question. The red giant is expanding. Will it reach us? For a long time, the physics gave us a sliver of hope. As the sun expands, it is also losing mass. A lot of mass is blown away as a powerful solar wind. As the sun's mass decreases, its gravitational pull on Earth weakens. This means our orbit will change. Earth will begin to spiral outward, away from the dying star. So it's a race. The sun's surface expands out. Earth's orbit moves out. Who wins? This is the revelation, and the answer is brutal. The latest, most precise models have given us the verdict. We lose. The sun's outermost atmosphere will expand to just beyond Earth's current orbit. Even with our planet migrating outward, the sun's expansion is faster. Earth will not just be burned, it will be engulfed. Our planet, now a 2,000-degree ball of magma, will physically enter the outer atmosphere of the sun. The surface of a red giant isn't a hard line. It's a vast, thin, but incredibly hot plasma. Earth will now be orbiting inside this plasma, and this creates a new, final, fatal force. Atmospheric drag. Like a marble rolling through water, Earth will be slowed down by this drag, and in orbital mechanics, when you slow down, you fall. This begins the great death spiral. Earth will be braked by the sun's own atmosphere, causing its orbit to decay. Over a few thousand years, it will spiral closer and closer and closer to the new raging core. Our planet, the remnant of our home, will be vaporized, torn apart by tidal forces and incinerated. The atoms that once made up our oceans, our mountains, and us will be scattered, becoming just another part of the star that once gave us life. This is the definitive end. Earth is erased. But in a final ironic twist, the sun's story isn't over. And here, the physics of our star's death gives us one last bizarre chapter. The sun is now a bloated red giant, having just consumed Earth. But its core, that dead ball of helium ash, has been collapsing under its own gravity this entire time. It's been getting denser and hotter and hotter. Finally, it hits the magic number, 100 million degrees Celsius. This is the ignition, temperature for helium. In a cataclysmic runaway event called the helium flash, the entire helium core ignites all at once. It begins a new furious fusion reaction, slamming helium atoms together to create carbon and oxygen. This new engine is immensely powerful. It's so violent that it does something paradoxical. It stabilizes the sun. It pushes back against gravity so hard that the sun's outer layers shrink. The red giant, for a brief time, contracts. It becomes smaller, hotter, and enters a short second adulthood, stably burning helium in its core. But this phase is a desperate, short-lived blaze of glory. This helium fuel will last only 100 million years, a mere cosmic eye blink. The helium fuel runs out. The sun's core is now a dead, inert ball of carbon and oxygen, and the whole death cycle repeats one last time. The carbon-oxygen core collapses, gravity wins. The pressure heats it up. This new heat ignites the shell of helium around the core. That, in turn, ignites the shell of hydrogen around the helium. This is double shell burning. It is the most unstable, violent, and chaotic phase of a star's life. The sun is now a dying, sputtering, raging engine, and it begins to pulse. It becomes an asymptotic giant branch, AGB star. With each pulse, it swells, even larger than it was as a red giant. And with each contraction, it violently sheds its outer layers. Huge, beautiful, intricate clouds of glowing gas and plasma, the sun's skin, are puffed out into space one after another. These expanding ethereal shells, illuminated by the hot core, are what we call a planetary nebula. It's not a planet, it's a misnomer from the 18th century. It is the sun's ghost. It is the star's final, beautiful, mournful breath expanding into the void. And what is left behind? The outer layers are now gone. All that remains is the core. The dead, naked ball of carbon and oxygen. There is no more fuel, no more fusion, no more outward push. Gravity wins, finally and forever. It crushes the core, a mass half that of our original sun, into an object the size of Earth. This is a white dwarf. It is a stellar corpse, an object of truly unimaginable density. A single teaspoon of its material would weigh more than a truck. It is white-hot, glowing not from new fusion, but from the leftover residual heat of 10 billion years of life. It is a dying ember floating in the graveyard of its own creation. And this is the final, shocking scene. This glowing, Earth-sized corpse, the remnant of our sun, will orbit the center of the galaxy, accompanied by the frozen, battered survivors of our solar system, the gas giants Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. For trillions of years, this white dwarf will slowly cool. It will fade from white to yellow to red, and finally, after a time longer than the current age of the universe, it will radiate away its last bit of heat and become a black dwarf, a cold, dark, invisible crystal of carbon and oxygen floating in the eternal silent darkness. That is how our sun really dies. It is not an end. It is a transformation, a revelation that our life-giving star will first become a murderer, then a ghost, and finally a diamond in a tomb.